online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads from over 200 countries and your #1 source in after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
And let the pain and horror and death begin. Because it's Attack on Titan.
Yay.
Just another day.
Just another day.
Must be Tuesday.
Yeah, behind wall, Maria.
You wouldn't think that listening to the new intro, though.
No, you wouldn't until this moment. So, joining us.
This angry German.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And from the poll, the unofficial poll from
On
you guys, the
YouTube.
viewers on YouTube, you guys seem to agree that most of you like the first one more. And by most of you, I mean all of you.
Not all.
Except for one.
Except for that
Which counts
one
to
guy.
all to me. Oh, there we go. Steven in the booth winning.
Steven is a good person and people say nice things
Come
about
on,
him.
guys. We need to move on.
So,
the first
I will
intro
never
was
move
great,
on.
But we needed to move on.
I
in
will be
terms of the next
21
part of the
forever.
story.
This entire episode was about not moving on.
No, the entire episode was about moving on.
But joining us today, Megan Salinas.
Hi, everyone.
And the lovely Katie Cullen.
Hi, all my buddies.
And John Quick is...
Where did he go?
His invisible friend.
He's not here. I only just noticed.
You know what? He decided he wasn't going to join the scout regiments. He's like, yeah, nope. He turned around and left.
Megan took his place.
He joined the, he wasn't top 10, so he had to just join the wall.
The wall garrison.
The wall garrison.
Slap some roses on his shoulders and go work at the cannons.
Does fine for himself. He doesn't have to go on the front lines. But I'm on the front lines, Dave Klein. So let's go ahead and jump right into the episode and talk about the continuation from last week where they're checking over all the 3D maneuvering gear after the whole incident of the Titans being killed somehow.
Now we're getting punished for killing Titans? Well, just those two.
Well, I like that we start off right there from the back because they are investigating it, and it is a mystery, and it's something that unfortunately doesn't get resolved in this episode, but it lets you know that they are taking this seriously and that whoever is responsible has seemingly gotten away with it for right now.
Yeah.
And you just like it when people solve mysteries.
I do! What is wrong with that?
There is nothing wrong with that. I just felt the need to point that out.
You know, I'm with you though, Megan. I love mysteries. I'm like, yes, I want to be a sleuth. I'm a detective. I'm going to find this out. And they keep
We're
on
on the case.
It's too bad we all already know the answer.
They put on a monocle, even though I don't think any sleuths wear monocles. Yeah.
I think you mean magnifying
You're right.
glasses.
We do all know the answer at this
You couldn't
point.
wear a magnifying glass.
Yeah,
It'd be
but
pretty hard to
It's a
fit.
magnifying glass monocle.
Like
Which wouldn't
a
make
jeweler.
any sense. Yeah. Yeah, actually it is like a jeweler. That's what they have. So, basically, this is going to keep on playing out throughout the entire episode, though. So it's going to be a theme from start to finish, this mystery of who did it. And we also get, among the regiments, they're kind of like, some people are like, well, I don't think it's that bad that someone did this. And Armin, of course, being the smart one, being like, well, this was kind of like pro-Titan if you did this, if you
Yeah.
really think about it, because this is our way to study them. So Armin's still the logical one.
Still the one to be the voice of reason among
Yeah.
the rabble.
I mean, you have some people who are upset about it, just the random scouts that we see, but or regiments, I should say, not scouts per se. But Connie then, I mean, he's okay with it just because he hates Titans. He's like, well, I just hate Titans. I don't want, after what happened, I'm just cool that they're dead because I never want to see them
as far
again.
away from me as possible.
Yeah. So why not join the scouts? And speaking of which,
That seems a little counterintuitive for Connie's purposes.
Yeah, it does. We move on to transition over to Jean because he's like remembering like he can't believe that Jean might actually join the scouts, and we see what presumably I believe was in the past when they were first
it was
cleaning
a
up.
flashback.
Yeah. And it's as they're burning the bodies of Marco's part of this body burning part, and Jean is there. Actually speaking sense and starting to become less of an asshole, realizing the truth of everything going on, and that he wants to actually do the right thing. And in part thanks to Marco's words.
Yeah, I like Jean's character arc. He's one of those one of the people who, from the get-go, he's an a-hole, but he's an endearing one, I suppose. You know, he's only out for himself, but at this point in the series, he's moved to the point where he is, you know, ready to join the scout regiment, and even though he's scared out of his mind, he's willing to lay down his life for the sake of humanity. And that's an interesting character arc.
For not being one of the main three, he's certainly gotten a lot of development.
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting. And I like the different character arcs that we see, not only from our three main characters, but from their friends as well.
Well, and John's probably more the character that the audience can relate to. Because you have our three characters who are orphans or close to it, who are massively traumatized from the get-go, and then you have this guy who, in a world where people get thrown under the bus and into giant mouths all the time, is looking out for himself and is willing to work hard enough to get himself set up for life. And as the audience looking at this world, you're kind of going, yeah, that seems like a really good plan.
Yeah, I can completely agree with you, Katie. I think that this is definitely the most relatable character because he's the one who, as you said, like he's looking out for himself, and even like as he joins the regiment, it's not necessarily like he's a bad guy per se.
No,
he thinks everything going on is bad, but he's like, I just need to be safe. And then when he realizes the reality of everything, he ends up doing the right thing, which I think a lot of people want to be able to relate to at least and be like, yeah, I want to be that. I want to be the person who ends up doing the right thing in the end. So I definitely think he's very relatable. But we also get Annie, who doesn't care.
Who takes the exact opposite route and is like, nope, all I care about is surviving. Even when Armin tries to go out on a limb and say, I think you care more than you let on, and you know, because you're trying to discourage us from joining the scout regiments, which it will most likely end in death. And she's like, do what you want. I only care about myself.
She is a cold, hard, do what's best for you.
Look at all the damns I don't give.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Well, and I like that even though that's what she says, what she means could be something completely different. Armin could be right on the nose.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just kind of left up to the audience to decide.
Right. I mean, she says do what's best for you. So, I mean, you can interpret that in any number of ways. But, so she's doing what she feels is obviously best for her. So, from that, we find out and move on that no one's gear turned out to have anything wrong with it or ain't odd in any way. So
that lead has sort of dried up.
Right. So that's also just odd there because that seems like someone used 3D maneuvering gear and somehow they haven't found it. So that's really odd that has somehow happened. And we have Aaron and Levi riding out, and they're going off on their own with Aaron needing to stay on that tight leash.
Aaron's just happy to be there.
I think as long as he gets outside, it's pretty great.
You mean I'm not locked up in chains? Okay.
Through the trees. This is wonderful. I'm so happy.
Sunlight is awesome.
I'm not mucking out the stables right now. Life is good.
So after that brief moment, we come back to Jean, Sasha, Connie, Armin all talking together, and we find out Jean, his reasoning behind joining the Scouts is because he's afraid of the Titans, and he admits it, but he wants to do something about it, which is a really admirable purpose, I'd say, that he's actually willing to go ahead and do something about it.
Well, and again, that makes him more relatable to the audience than some of our main characters, because our audience's motivations are murder them all, protect the crazy person, and stick with the strong people, whereas Jean's is, I am completely terrified of what's going on. I am not going to let that get to me.
And I like that not only does that make him relatable, to the viewers from that standpoint, but I like that Marco was the one to point out early on that that's what makes him a good leader. Is not because he's spectacular at anything, he's in the top 10, but because he understands what it's like to be afraid and he can empathize with everybody else, and that's what makes him a good leader.
I think that's also, I actually think he's one of the strongest characters, and that's why, is because for someone to not be afraid, I don't think that's necessarily strong, but to fight your fears and fight what you're afraid of, I think that makes him stronger than Aaron per se, so I think he's a stronger character.
Yeah, bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's taking action even when you're afraid.
Yeah. So we have Commander Irvin, as that is the English way of saying it. I believe it's Irwin in the Japanese.
Yeah, on the if you watch the subbed version, it's Ewin, I think, but they're pronouncing it Irvin.
Yeah. So Commander Irvin.
Because German.
Because that's the real way to pronounce it. Yeah, because it is supposed to be that way. So Commander Irvin is talking over the regiments and going to be pitching to them to join the scout regiments. And what a positive pitch he has there for all of them. So
these are all the awful things that happen to scouts. However, this is what we're going for.
So if you join the Scouts, well, just so you know, we had this great route that after 4 years we established. We can't use it anymore. And while we're trying to establish that great route, 60% of our troops died. In a month, we're going to be doing a recon, and a third of you will die. So join our team.
Well, at least he's brutally honest, and it's a point that they make at the end of the episode when Jean and Aaron are talking. But, you know, the fact, if he had lied to them to entice them to join the scout regiments, they would probably hesitate if they had to lay down their lives. And that's no good either. That's no use to them.
You also wind up with a weaker regiment. You have people who don't know what they're in for and no longer want to be there, and they cannot afford that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And beyond that, I mean, even like their percentage of deaths, those would probably be the ones who would die too if they were the ones who were kind of like iffy and looking at the fluffy, non-realistic version of things. But also in this, he has a really interesting thing that he brings up, which is he decides to tell them about the cellar and the basement of Aaron's, and
which they've been keeping on the DL,
right? Yeah. Which until then it was very high security level to know about. And Armin's kind of like, was it a good idea to go public with this information? Unless it's a hook and catch situation where maybe he's laying it down for a reason, which we get on at the end of the episode, that maybe there's more to it. And there's actually a reason that he's delving and dishing out that information.
And we get a quick flashback to the last episode of who do you think the real enemy is?
Who do you think the real? Yeah, he just gets up close and personal. Who do you think?
Just like that.
Ignore me. That said, he is really smart.
I think my one question with it is, okay, say he is doing it for that purpose. Why would you not give a fake location and be like, oh yeah, we're going to Armin's house's basement?
Because it makes no sense. Again, if we're going for complete transparency, you can't say the truth for one thing and then lie for another, because once one lie gets found out, everyone's going to wonder, well, what else are they lying about?
They first got to get to that basement to find out the lie.
And even so, the best lies have an element of truth to them. So it's like you put enough of the truth in there to maybe entice whoever is responsible out of the woodwork, and then you don't have to say everything else that's going on, but you put enough of it in there to make it enticing.
Well, right, but I mean, this was pretty much like the full truth for the most part. Like, and that's why I was saying, like, okay, do the lie, but as close to the truth as possible, but switch something out. This was pretty much just the truth. But yeah, so he delves out that information for possibly ulterior motives and reasons. And we get our troops who are staying. So we got Jean, Sasha, Connie, Armin. So all of them who are talking together, aside from Annie, who doesn't join. And we got Bertolt and Rainer joining as well. So actually a good amount of the people that we've really been growing with.
Pretty much everybody in the top 10 who survived, with the exception of Annie, yeah.
Pretty much everyone that the show has been, look, here's a character, care about them. Who's a cadet, aside from Marco, who's dead, and Annie, who went,
I'm going to the military police, see ya.
Life of luxury for me, goodbye.
Yeah.
But everyone else shows up with the scouts.
I like in this moment too that he says, if I order you to die, would you do it? And someone shouts out, I don't want to die, sir. And he actually likes that, and it's like, good. So I think that is actually cool, because you'd expect like a lot of military things to be like they want you to go follow everything, and he actually likes that they're rebellious to that aspect.
And it's harkening back to what Annie said very early in the episode, because she asked Armin and Connie, if somebody ordered you to die, would you do it? And then when we have Irvin asking that same question and having the answer be, we don't want to die, like you said, he likes that, because it's like, okay, you're willing to lay down your lives, but none of you want to, and that's the great thing.
Yeah. Well, and also I think it shows like they're fighters too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. These are people who will fight to survive.
Yeah. So I think it, like, again, it's that whole strong aspect. And those are the people
you want on your side. Exactly.
Yeah. So we get Section Commander Ness after this. A little comic relief.
Poor Ness with his bald head. Oh.
And this is my horse. She likes pulling hair.
So, of course, the bandana.
And if you see the bandana got pulled up a little bit, and you do see this big old bald patch.
He's got like this Friar Tuck bald spot going on up there.
And he's not old, so he shouldn't be balding that madly.
But he seems like a good guy. I was like, I like this guy. But we find out all the training now that the scouts are going through, and they're actually finding out, as opposed to fighting training, it's all this formation training, which is now learning to work as a team, really, what a lot of it, and how they're going to be handling this mission right away, because it is in a month. So they're not getting Aaron's location. That's the one thing that they're not finding out of all this training. But they are finding out, like, formations, this is where we're going to go. And then we also get from Aaron's side, and we get to see his perspective as an audience, that he's going to be in the safest position, apparently. And
the rear center.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For the most part.
Even the supply trucks don't get that kind of treatment.
And they also find out that the point of the mission is just to go out and to come back.
And even if there is an ulterior motive, they're like, you know what? That's up to Irvin. He'll let us know when we need to know. Right now, all we need to concern ourselves with is getting out and coming back.
But they do heavily allude that there seems to be an ulterior motive, because it's just like, well, it's very feasible.
As far as I'm concerned, Irvin is running some sort of Xanatos gambit, and we're only just seeing the edges of it.
Yeah. So, again, like, really laying heavy into that mystery aspect, because I think this is where we get the flashback to, and that moment of, like, Irvin going, like, who do you think did it? So,
Like, could
really
you be
laying
any
into it.
shadier? He's got the hood over his head, he's all sneaking up and close. Who do you think did it?
Oh, never mind, don't mind me.
Who's the real enemy? Ignore me!
And he starts just humming. He's like, da, da, da. No, I didn't say anything. Yeah, that's what he starts. That'd be great if, like, they actually started whistling that, like, to seem inconspicuous. Thank you.
Because angry German is always inconspicuous.
Ah, yeah, of course. That's the most inconspicuous thing you could do. After this moment, we get Aaron actually running into the troops and seeing everyone who's joined. So Mikasa, Armin saying hi to them.
Can I have permission to say hi to my friends? Sure.
Yeah, whatever, kid.
And that's kind of a nice bit, too, because we forget that he has been sequestered away from everybody he cares about.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see them reunite, even though there's a lot of heavy news that comes with it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Mikasa just really pissed. Not happening.
Done anything to you, have they? Any sort of horrible experiments or emotional anguish?
And I just love the look on her face when she's like, Levi went too far.
That pipsqueak went too far.
As Levi's were right behind, just like,
That would be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, that would be a crazy battle.
I don't think we're gonna get that because they're on the same
odds
side.
on either of them. I think people are gonna get killed just by watching. Nope.
It'd be somehow, like, there's blaze go flying, kill people on the outside, stalemate.
Seriously.
Except for all the
There's
spectators.
just carnage everywhere.
This ring of death, and they're standing in the middle of it like, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm not a blaze. How about you?
That's not to get into, one of those, too nerdy questions, but who do you guys think would win a fight? No.
I refuse to call it. I refuse to call it.
Next time we go to an Attack on Titan panel. Excuse me.
Okay, commenters, call it. Because the hosts won't.
We're washing our hands of that one.
Feel free to battle it out in the comments. We'd love to see your replies. Keep it spoiler free. But we'd love to see what you think on this one.
Keep it spoiler free.
Keep it spoiler free.
Mostly that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jean inquiring the truth from Aaron about why Aaron attacked Mikasa, and just saying, like, he wants a guarantee for a reason why they all did it, because this is really a big reason a lot of them joined, is to have this guarantee.
First, we have Aaron asking if Marco joined the military police.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
he doesn't know.
Yeah, and that was a really hard scene to watch, because even though this is a group of people who have seen lots of their friends die, due to the battle at Trost, Marco was killed off screen, and that was a hard pill for everyone to swallow.
Yeah.
And now we have to see Aaron go through that as well.
Which just makes it worse for everyone who thought they'd already dealt with it.
Exactly.
Or dealt with it enough to keep functioning. You watch someone else break down over the same thing that broke you, and it's like, oh, I'm not as okay as I thought I was.
Yeah, it's just reminding it. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, after that moment, he needs some sort of guarantee. And Aaron, like, I don't know.
I got nothing, guys. Sorry.
Sorry, the boulder wasn't good enough for you. I proved myself right afterwards.
Yes, but you also tried to kill the love of Jean's life, who really doesn't care about him, mind you, but nonetheless.
That's true, but that hasn't happened. Like, other than that first scene, there hasn't really been much of that Jean Mikasa stuff going on.
The love triangle.
They
There
pretty
are
much-
other things that have been taking precedence.
Titans
Love
and people
triangle.
dying and whatever. Yeah, so we've after all this though, we get our like in between at some point we get the wings of freedom. We get them actually wearing the capes, and it's such a badass look. I'm like, yes, I love the wings of freedom.
Just the
and the
scene
capes.
of them all snapping the capes out and pulling them over their shoulders as the wind blows. And then you see Marco doing it, and you just kind of...
Yeah.
That was probably the most emotional scene in this entire episode.
Yes.
It was just that.
He would totally be here with us.
Or he'd be a military police, but
No, dude would follow Jean.
he would have followed Jean, definitely. So, yeah, definitely a heart-wrenching scene, but also cool to see them donning the wings of freedom as it's
yes.
just that moment of, like, they've grown up. And we see, as the scout regiment is heading out, the kids now idolizing Aaron, and Aaron, that's who Aaron was. So he's become who he idolized, and now he is this wings of freedom-bearing soldier.
That's right, kids. Join the Suicide Squad.
Oh.
Yeah!
Woohoo! Wait.
It's like oftentimes
Jaeger
that's-
approved. Oh, no. That's sad.
Most things that are Jaeger approved are not good for your health.
No,
That
they're
is
really
not-
not.
That is not a name that bodes well, both father and son.
I think a lot of times that's kind of who you end up idolizing as a kid, though, are the ones that, like, the things that seem
That seem
scary and frightening and
dangerous and-
dangerous. That's what seems so cool as a kid when it's, like, closer to threatening. The closer you are to threatening your life, the cooler it is.
Yeah.
Play with fire,
Ma,
kids.
no hands.
That's why the
You're
X
cool.
Games
What
are
does
so cool.
this button do?
I don't know, press it, because that's the cool thing to do.
Jeez.
And that wraps up the episode as they're heading out onto this mission. Apparently, it's been a month's time, and we're ready to go on this let's go outside and come right back inside mission.
That's all that's going to happen.
It'll be cool. I'm sure it'll be good. So
Well, and
It'll be a nice leisurely horseback
it'll
ride.
be a nice leisurely stroll.
they gotta readjust their new routes and all that. It'll be fine.
Well,
Just-
and I like that even though they say this is a trial run to see what Aaron can do, they obviously have this ulterior motive that Irwin has, but that still doesn't take away from the dangerous aspect of it. Even though
Yeah.
this is a trial run, quote unquote, they're estimating that they're going to lose a third of their people on a trial run, on a beta
Titans.
test.
Because
Yeah.
Titans.
it's like you just Titans.
So it really does emphasize how big of a gamble they are taking on Aaron, just for the chance to retake Walmaria.
Also, again, to me, just emphasizes how good of a strategist Irvin must be to take risks like that. Because you only take a risk like that if you really have a good reason to. So you got to put a lot of trust into him.
Yeah. And he's so intelligent too. So even though like it sounds like a staggering amount of cost, to him the pros slightly outweigh the cons, I guess.
Well, the pros, if you manage to keep doing this, at the end of the line, the pros are you get whatever's in the basement. And whatever's behind door number 1 better be pretty dang good.
I mean, beyond that, though, they're also training Aaron at the same time.
True.
Yeah,
And,
which is this huge weapon that they can use against the Titans.
So I think that's also a big deal, is to train this new weapon. So you're kind of getting a couple things out of it. And then hopefully, if he has an ulterior motive, I mean, maybe that's the other reason too, but I don't know. So we'll see. And I'm excited to see the Scouts in action personally, because this is the troop that we keep on hearing about. So it's like, all right, we're finally getting to really see them in action outside of just Levi's cleanup crew.
Yeah, as cool as like the bits that we've seen of the Scouts regiment, and the various all stars, I suppose you could say, like seeing Levi in action. It is really exciting to be like, this is the entire Scout regiment. This is the best of the best and bravest that humanity has to offer, and it's really cool. Getting the idea that we're going to get to see them in action.
Yeah, I mean, it
We're
definitely
gonna
makes
see
you
a lot
wonder.
of death.
That too.
It's been a few episodes since we've watched some people die. We're going to make up for that deficit real soon.
I also feel like, because you also get the military police, which presumably the top people tend to join over the scouts because most people aren't crazy and aren't Aaron. So it makes you wonder, like, well, is the military police stronger than the scouts? And I tend to think the scouts, because they're the ones who are constantly keeping up with their training, as opposed to the military police, who were really good in training, and their skills probably...
Yeah, it's very conceivable that they've gotten lazy in the off season, so to speak.
The MPs might have a higher number than the scouts, because I would imagine fewer people tend to straight up die in the military police. So they may have the number advantage, but I think you're right about the skill set.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but you can join a scout no matter what, whereas in military police, you have to be top 10.
You're going to survive anything.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, like...
No, military police, you can only join if you're in the top 10. And I don't know if somebody in the top 10 choosing to join the scout regiment, if that means that there's an empty slot, like whoever was 11th can then join the military police.
Right, but my point would just be that...
Imagine that you've got anywhere between 7 and 10 people in each class joining the military police during this time of peace. Contrast that, it doesn't matter how many people you have in the scouts when 90% of them die after 4 years.
60%.
Was it 60%?
He expected most of the rookies to be dead in 4 years.
That's true.
And the few people who survived would be the best and brightest.
Right.
So, and you don't die in the military police. You're living a life of luxury and comfort, and the worst you're going to have is a scuffle with someone who breaks the law, as opposed to scouts where people die all the time. Military police are going to have people who have been there for decades and are still in because it's comfortable. If you've been in the scouts for decades, you are pretty dang good and or lucky and or you never leave base. So military police is going to have the number advantage. Not necessarily the skill advantage, but they will have numbers.
Right. No, I mean, they definitely will, but I was just pointing out that they're still not supremely high numbers because they do have a max of 10 per turn.
I'd say it depends on how far back you go versus the rate of death in the scouts.
Honestly,
I'm an English major, and this is math.
But yeah, the wall garrison probably has the most number of people.
Definitely.
There, you've got the people who aren't suicidal, and also the people who couldn't cut it to be the military police. So that's probably the majority.
But are dang good at drinking.
The rabble.
They're gosh darn good at drinking, though.
Yes. People ever see him again?
I hope so. I like him.
Hans
is awesome. I hope we see Hans again. But that wraps up this episode as they're going off on this mission. So we're gonna get to see the scouts.
Woo! Yay!
Unless they do some random what are they? When
shows?
Clip shows, yeah, like a random clip show, or when you do the like Naruto does it all the time.
The filler
episodes, with the random filler episodes.
Titan doesn't believe in filler. That's why we've had such a long gap between season 1 and season 2.
That's part of what I really hope they don't. That's part of what I love so much about the show, because I accidentally bought a whole DVD of Naruto fillers. I was just like,
that's disappointing.
Why? You bought a DVD of Naruto?
Well, this was back before.
Believe it.
Not again.
Well, this was back like before the English dubs were out, so I had to.
Oh, okay, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, I had to get like subtitled ones. I was trying to, even though I still wasn't promoting them because it was a subtitled DVD that technically isn't. Anyways,
Chinese subs that become unintelligible.
It was a Chinese. Actually, it was a Chinese one.
Are fun.
Yeah. So, anyways, thank you guys for joining. I am Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That is KLEIN.
I'm Megan. You can follow me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. You can also find me on the Sword Art Online and Ruby panels.
I'm Katie Cullen. You can find me on Twitter and Tumblr at Kiaxet. That's KIAXET. I'm also on the Sword Art Online and Legend of Korra panels on Sunday and the Ruby panel on Thursday.
So many. So much. So
All
good.
of the panels, ever.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Kill you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.